Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining our TagoIO and Senet partner webinar. We have a good one for you today. I'm very excited about this webinar. I've been waiting a while to do this with our partner Senet. Today, we'll be talking about LoRaWAN networks for robust IoT solutions. With that, my name is David Hall. I'm the Customer Success Manager here at TagoIO. And then I also have the pleasure of doing this webinar with Noah Lonnie, the VP of Strategic Accounts. We'll both be presenting today and speaking to you about how Tago and Senet really have synergized together to really create a really nice application on both sides. With that, let's go through the agenda real quick. So obviously, LoRaWAN concepts and advantages. Nirlani's going to deep dive into that. Also, we're going to speak about how easy it is to integrate with Senet and TagoIO from an integration standpoint. It's literally just a couple clicks. I'll be showing you that portion. We have ecosystem and use cases and a live demo, which I'll be showing you actually how to authorize the connection between Senet and TagoIO. And of course, we have a Q&A. But no need to wait till the end for Q&A. If you notice, there is a chat button. You could ask questions at any time. We'll try to get to those in real time, but we might save it to the end. It just depends on time, but we'll get your questions answered from there. So with that, let's talk a little bit about the TagoIO and Senet partnership. We have been partners since 2017. So a lot of good years in there. We've really done multiple integrations, large and small. And one thing that we really take pride in is really building the relationship, yes, between ourselves, but more importantly with the customers, right? Because it takes time, it takes care, it takes a personal touch. You need to be available to your customers when they have questions or anything like that. So both of our companies take that very, very seriously, and that's why we've been so successful in our partnership and with our customers, our long-standing customers. You know, we recognize leadership in the IoT platforms and LoRaWAN networks. We take that very seriously, and we're recognized in those areas as well. We have strong market and use case synergies in the following markets, but certainly not limited to smart cities, smart utilities, smart buildings, hospitality, infrastructure, but it really goes beyond that, right? We've worked so long together and so well together. We have developed a great synergy of how we interact in all these different verticals and sectors. So really, honestly, nothing's new to us. As a customer success manager, I'm talking to people all day long, and they all have unique situations for their business needs and their business model. And with Senet, we're able to adapt to those very quickly and get them up and running very, very quickly, and obviously support them. We both take support, both companies take support extremely seriously. So that is another big portion of how we've been so successful for so long together, is that we just work so well together. I think of it as you have Senet, you have Tago, and then you have the customer, right? And the customer really revolves around both Senet and Tago, and we need to navigate that. And that's what we do very well together. Obviously, we built network and platforms to scale. We're both very capable of that, and we have proven use cases and stories that back that up. And we have happy customers. I've had customers, that I've been working with for 3 or 4 years that are also Senet customers, and they're very happy. When I get on calls with them, they tell me Senet is great, Tago's great. But that takes time to develop, right? They're not happy customers. They can be very happy in the beginning, but when you can retain that happiness through years of partnership with your customers, it says something about your organization and what you're doing in your partnership. So that's why, to me and to Nayaloni and to everybody at Senet and Tago, our partnership is extremely important, because the end focus is really not about the Tago and Senet partnership. Of course, that plays a huge role, but it's really about how can we help our customers get to their goals and their business needs. That's really the focus in the end of it, right? So it's very easy for us to understand and how to do that. And again, since we've been doing it so long together, it's very simple for us to do. Now, I'm going to hand it over to Noah Lonnie. She is going to talk about why LoRaWAN and Senet in general. So Noelani, I'll pass it over to you. Welcome and thank you for joining.
Great. Thanks to be here. I'm really excited to be talking about how we've done so much in the past years together, and really why LoRaWAN is becoming kind of the de facto standard in the industry for LPWAN. So we've really been involved in a lot of scaled deployments. We've had a lot of experiences with these worldwide that allow us to ensure our tools enable our customers to maintain and update modifications across tens of thousands of devices and gateways. At the end of the day, we'd always love to put something out in the market that's never going to change, but that rarely happens. And we expect that by planning and implementing those features in our tool. So scaled capabilities, scaled maintenance, scaled features. And, LoRaWAN was developed as an open standard from the very beginning, open, non-proprietary. And as we've spoken to our city, utility, and enterprise customers, we've found that more and more, they just don't want to be fit into the confines of a proprietary standard that really has vendor lock. LoRaWAN as an open standard allows you to pick and choose. If you see one device that is working good for you, but you want to enhance that with another device, the fact that it's an open standard really enables that kind of competitive options for our customers. The other thing I wanted to point out is that LoRaWAN was formalized and recognized as an international standard by the International Telecommunications Union. And this is a United Nations specialized agency for information and communications technologies. And we're really proud of that. And it also shows that this is something that is being adopted worldwide. So a little bit about Senet and who we are and why it matters. Senet has been the developer of cloud-based software and services now for the rapid deployment of IoT networks for over a decade. And we do this when they're needed, where they're needed, and at the right performance and cost. And this is really crucial, performance and cost, because our customers, when they're in a situation where they need to be very flexible with their business models, that is really what has enabled us to accelerate them. And as David has spoken about in the first 5-10 minutes of this presentation, is we are better together. And that's really important to us. We've been working in this space since 2009. We were one of the first companies to use LoRaWAN at scale in the US. Some other firsts that we have, we were the first FCC certified LoRaWAN network operator, deploying and installing the first FCC certified LoRaWAN device. Super proud about that. And with these firsts, again, it has allowed us to have a lot of experiences with our clients running the largest carrier grade network in the US and understanding problems and getting experience working with these enterprise, city, and utility customers. And I think that really what has set us apart. So that's a little bit about Senet, why we're important. This slide talks a little bit about the business models that we've brought to the market. And we have a lot of flexible business models. On the right-hand side, the most robust is a full-fledged network operator solution where we white labeled multiple platforms for our customer. And then on the left-hand side, we have NAS, or Network as a Service, and that allows our clients to buy our public network. Platform as a Service, which is the second from the left, allows you to bring your own gateway, BYOG. And in addition, we have very robust and flexible capabilities for RAN providers. That's third from the left. These are radio access network providers that service a plethora of vertical assets, whether it's buildings, rooftops, radio towers, commercial towers. And we really enable them to bring those assets to the ecosystem and contribute to LoRaWAN sales by being part of the revenue share ecosystem. So this slide is kind of a culmination that brings it all together. we like to talk about DNA, devices, network, and application as the three big components that allow you to bring a turnkey solution to market. So the devices, the ecosystem of devices that are out there, if you're interested in understanding what devices are available, we have a marketplace that you can go to. Application on the right-hand side, this is where Tago accelerates all the different flexibility that takes that data that's in the middle, the network piece, which consists of gateways, as well as a cloud platform. And we funnel all that data into the visualization and really interesting features that Tago has to offer. So this is a really key slide. I like to call it my DNA slide. You know, again, put it in your pocket, think about it, reference it. It's very helpful. Senet's network coverage, you know, we're in over 180 countries worldwide, and you can see here those that we have active deployments in green and Senet-ready deployments where we have cloud, and the LoRaWAN has regional roaming parameters for those countries. Again, we're very active, excited, and eager to work with you all as our partners to kind of bring more solutions into each of these countries worldwide. Focusing a little bit on our US network coverage. Our network coverage is a little tiny link on the bottom right-hand side, but if you click on that, you can see, you know, the many, many cities that we've been deployed in worldwide. And we have both an ecosystem of radio access network providers that are putting gateways on vertical assets, as well as solution providers that are taking both the DNA, the device and the application, combining that together and offering it out to their solution partners. If you need any more details about our public coverage map, you can go to this link. You can also see this data in your login ID, and I can answer questions if you have those about where to find those details online. So I would be remiss if I didn't talk about our service and support. It really has become a competitive advantage for us. You know, companies might come to us because we have very flexible business models, being able to use NAS, PAS, or RAN provider, but they really stay with us because of our premium world-class support. It includes documentation, subject matter experts across all the different areas, as well as solutioning and engineering, where we work with our partners to bring new devices to market that may not have, you know, had a good grounding in the past or what have you. So it's really kind of a strong competitive advantage for us, and we're eager to show you what we have here. So I picked 4 use cases here to really highlight, and I call them our hero use cases. So clockwise from the left, we've got AMI networks, where we have the largest installed base of smart water meters in the US. AMI stands for Automatic Metering Infrastructure. And in the past, you know, people would drive by, read our water meters, write it on a clipboard, and put that data into a system. And now they can rely on devices to capture that data, certainly in more real-time basis. Continuing on in a clockwise fashion, we've got our quick service restaurant, and the Food and Drug Administration goes out and they actually audit fast food restaurants if they don't keep our meat at the right temperature. So this has been a very big success for us. We have a lot of gateways, a lot of refrigeration temperature devices that are out there in the market. Gas metering, again, continuing on, is another hero use case because of the ability to enable enterprises, cities, as well as utility companies when there is a gas leak in and around an area, and then to pinpoint the location of that gas leak so that fire safety officials can know where to go, when to go, and how to service a problem there. We are collaborating with a lot of building owners as well as facility management solution providers to have leak, water heater and water boilers and air handlers and fans and all of these components that are part of a working ecosystem inside of a building really benefit from having sensors attached to them. So again, these are the 4 hero use cases. And what we've found is as we move into location services, that having that hero use case to start has been a very strong success factor for us, because then we can add the capability to detect maybe your inventory was left at a site, or a truck left a site and they didn't find all of their components together, and being able to use locationing services to find those assets where those devices may not have had, a very expensive either GPS or other radio asset attached to it. You can use temperature sensors, AMI, and other sensors on Senet's platform and identify where the location is. It's kind of like, I like to call it the poor man's GPS by using Senet's location servicing. So I'm going to pass it over to David now, and he'll continue on with the rest of the capabilities that we have and how to integrate that with the Tago platform.
Thank you. We do have a couple questions, Noelani. One of them is from Claudia from Rio de Janeiro. She's curious about the coverage or solutions in Brazil. You can address this now or through chat, whatever you would like.
Sure. All right. Well, I'll do it through chat.
Okay. All right. So moving forward here, as I said, Senet is a very solid company. Their connectivity is bar none, right? I refer customers there quite often. But let's talk about the simplicity of the flow, right? So in the first swim lane, obviously you have your sensors that can be tracking anything, right? It could be a tractor, it could be a forklift, it could be a person, right? Livestock, greenhouses, whatever it is. The list goes on and on and on. And then from connectivity, you have Senet sitting there in swim lane 2. Then if you look in swim lane 3, you have TagoIO. So I'm going to talk about this in a little more detail in an upcoming live demo. But the handshake between Senet and TagoIO is just a one-time handshake. But I'll speak about that a little bit more. But if you look at swim lane 3, you see TagoIO at the top, and then at the bottom you see Run. And you might be thinking, what is that? Why is it separated? Well, TagoIO, obviously there's what we call the developer account, right? Where you build your application, connect devices, integrate with Senet, and those sort of things, right? But then when you see Run at the bottom, when you hear me or anybody else at Tago or Senet refer to Tago Run, what we're referring to is the end user application, which I'm going to show you that in real time. It's cool. You guys will love it. And the customizations are out of this world. I'll speak about that a little bit as well. Then, of course, you have the integrations, right? We just have a few listed here. With Jira, you can integrate with a ticketing system or a billing system and things like that. So really those integrations with the ERP system is really just another component. And I like to think of Tago as, it's more than visualization. It's going beyond IoT. And I'll speak about that a little bit more, but this is one of the examples in my opinion. Right. And then you have user interaction, your end users, right? So you want your application to look really cool. You want it to be able to provide valuable information that meets your end users' business needs. That's Tago Run. It's very simple to configure and use. So we'll talk about that a little bit as well. So if I move forward here, if we talk about integration steps, again, remember this slide because I'm going to show you this in real time for the most part, right? Just how easy it is from a Tago standpoint. But it seriously is just 3 steps, right? The first one, you would register your devices on the Senet portal. And I already put in chat, but we have a great promotion that Senet and Tago have come up with, and I'll go into that detail as well. So stay tuned till the end. You're going to be very happy with this promotion, I think. And then if we look at swim lane 2, you have your notification target. Basically, that's where you get the authorization code. If you look at number 3, you're going to generate that authorization code. You're going to paste that in there just one time. And then it's good for any LoRaWAN devices that you connect to Senet, right? They're going to be able to speak to TagoIO and you're good to go. So it's just a one-time authorization that you can do. There are some things you could do around there from a business standpoint that I could speak about briefly, but it's just a one-time handshake and you're good to go. But I'll live demo most of this for you from the TagoIO side. Then we talk about use cases, just to expand a little more on what Noelani was mentioning, is, so what's really big, I'm seeing a big push here, not just in the US, but across the world, honestly, in asset tracking and asset optimization, right? And when people think of asset tracking, some customers, I think they're only focused on supply chain, right? It goes beyond that, right? Really beyond that. It's really any asset that you want to track in some form or fashion, right? That could be farming equipment. I work with a ton of agriculture departments, and I'm not just talking about the food portion of it, where farmers and their greenhouses and their water quality and things like that, but also livestock, gates open, gates not open. They need to know where things are. Pallets are interesting. People just think, oh, well, you're just tracking a pallet, where it is, where it's going, and when it gets its final destination. It goes beyond that, right? We can, at TagoIO, we can sense G-force if your sensor has that capability. Temperature, humidity, obviously location, right? That's the obvious one. But really, it goes beyond that. And this can be for anything. It doesn't have to be pallets. Again, this is just one example, right? Vehicles at a parking lot. I'm starting to see more and more companies adapt to using TagoIO for their parking facilities within the city. We work with a lot of smart cities in the UK, in the US, and other parts of the world as well. But one thing they're starting to adapt, and not just controlling their lights and watching their water quality and their temperature and humidity in buildings and CO2s in certain parts of buildings and warehouses, but really they're starting to track their vehicles, right? When is a parking lot available? Through the TagoRun app, you can select, you can look, say you're on your way to the parking lot, you could look and say, oh, well, they have 2 spots available. I'm going to reserve this. I'm 5 miles away, so I know it's going to be there when I get there. It's those sort of things. It really goes beyond just monitoring a parking lot, right? And then there's personal safety, which also there's a big push there across many different verticals, all focused on one, hospitality, right? Hospitality, and also in warehouses, right? So hospitality, you need to make sure that people are safe. And also when you think of it at a warehouse, right? You might have, and I work with customers that this is a very real use case, that they have certain parts of their warehouse to where only a certain people can be, right? You could track that, right? And get alerts through TagoIO if that limit is reached, or let's just say you put geofence around that area, right? Anybody enters into that, you get alert on who that person is, right? And how long they've been there. And you can even go as far as if something hasn't moved, whether it's a person, a pallet, a vehicle, whatever, in a set amount of time, when you know that that should have moved, you can get alert through TagoIO and then take the appropriate action there. So if we think about it, it's really intra-company transfer, or anywhere really. You can track assets indoor and outdoor, and it really helps enhance your KPIs, right? If you think about it, arrival and departure, everybody wants their stuff on time, right? And you as a company, as a business owner, you want to ensure that that happens, right? Your end user can get alert like, hey, this has arrived at the warehouse. This has arrived. This is now on a truck. However you want to configure Tago. Tago is very customizable. And honestly, I think that's what separates us from other providers in our space, is that we are so customizable that you can build out just about anything you want with TagoIO. And you could do that yourself. You don't necessarily need to come to me or anybody else here at Tago. With our online free training. We have lots of free self-help. There's lots of things that we have. I actually host a immersive developer training focused on developers for one day, the basic users like myself for another day. So keep an eye out for that. I'll make sure everybody that joins this webinar gets an alert for that as well. But really, we get into some of these things. But if we go back to KPIs, like dwell time is extremely important. We already talked about assets in transit and indoor and outdoor, but it goes beyond that. I mean, your imagination is wild in what we can do there. So don't just focus on these. It goes well beyond that. And again, we have the integrations. Now let's talk about Kickstarter. So Kickstarter and its customizations. I'm going to talk about one particular one, but first I'm going to explain what Kickstarter is. So if you have a paid account, TagoIO has two paid plans. There's a starter plan and there's a scale plan. Very affordable, but we have a Kickstarter. So think of Kickstarter as, remember when I mentioned TagoRun as your end user application? It's really a foundation piece that's pre-built, right? And you could download that and customize it any way you want. Look, feel, how the widgets look, and those sort of things. So, but on customization of Kickstarter is RTLS, or asset tracking. RTLS is real-time location sensing, asset tracking, basically. Again, it could be anything. As I've mentioned, you could track indoor and outdoor, a location map, site, room with geofences. You know, something that just popped in my head. Speaking of geofences, is I work with several large rental companies here in the U.S., right? And I never thought of this, and before they came to me a couple of years ago. But what they do, they have high dollar equipment that they're renting out. So what they'll do is they use TagoIO as their platform, and they put a geofence around a construction site. So if they are, you know, sending a forklift there, or a tractor or front loader, something like that, they put a geofence around that so they know when that equipment goes in and out 24/7, right? 365 days a year. They know where their equipment is at all times. And it's not just leaving, it's asset tracking that asset. So they know where it is on that large construction site. Just something that popped in my head, but very real world use case. Then I spoke a little bit about alerts, but you can have it come from email, SMS, push notifications, and it doesn't need to be just one. You can have all three. So to make sure that your alert gets out and gets addressed. You can export historical data for purposes. So you just have that data on hand. Maybe you need to keep data for a certain amount of time. You can certainly do that on Tago, but you can export it out as well. I've already spoke about the integrations. Again, honestly, I've never ran across anything that we couldn't integrate with our API. So, and then you have access control for users and organizations. I'll show you that a little bit. When you think about it, is when you're talking about access control for users and organizations, I like to look at it like this. If I have a restaurant, right, and I'm the general manager, I might have 5 restaurants underneath me, right? Well, I need to know what's going on in all 5 of those restaurants. But I have a restaurant manager at each one of those. They don't necessarily need to see the other 4 restaurants. They can just focus on their restaurant, right? So it's really permission-based, and it's access control, as we call it. Simple to use, by the way, and set up on your TagoIO application. And you can add your own BI and advanced analytics. With that, if we talk about data visualization, again, it goes beyond that with TagoIO. As I mentioned in the beginning, I'd like to think of TagoIO going beyond just IoT, right? There's so much you can do. But these are just a few examples. And, you know, we have free templates on our website that you can just download and start using. This is an example of a few of those templates, but you can download these. They're ready to go, and you could start using them. You own them, by the way. Once they're in your profile, you own them, and you could change them any way you want. You could even just use a simulated device. So if you're new to Tago and you don't have a device, just download the template and use the simulator. It's very simple to do. We have videos on it and documentation, or you could always just email me for that. Not a problem. And then custom analytics, right? Data doesn't lie. I've always thought that. I've been doing this for many, many years, and data doesn't lie. There's a lot of valuable information in there where you can get your advanced analytics with TagoIO as well, and really understand what that data means in context of your application, right? It's extremely important and powerful, really, to understand what data you have and what you're going to do with it. Because in my opinion, data tells a story, right? And you need to understand that story and maybe change that story if you need to. That, again, at the top of the webinar, I spoke about TagoRun. So that's the end user application. So for free, you can download the Tago app, right, from Google or the Apple Store, right? And then when you're configuring your TagoRun, you would just simply put in that URL. You can customize it as well. You can put your company name on there, a logo, those sort of things. And then from the end user application, if we look at the one on the far right, that's really, if I'm on my mobile phone, I can change out a sensor. I can add a new sensor. I can see where my assets are. It just matters on how your application is built, and they all work on the mobile app. And many customers actually want their own mobile app, which we build for them. We white label it and so on and so forth to meet their business needs. So very powerful stuff, very easy to use. And then if we talk about the live demo here, I'm going to share my screen. And the point of this live demo, I'm going to go over a few things, but just really how easy is it to integrate with Senet, right, is the main part of this. So let me share my screen real quick. So here you will see I'm on my home tab, and this is what I call, if you're new to Tago, this is what I refer to as your developer account. This is where you build things, right, and customize things. You configure your Tago run on how you want it to look and feel. As I said, you can add your logo, your favicon, and then you have, the URL down at the bottom. You could change that. You could white label it, whatever you want to do. But this is really where you change the look and feel of how your application is going to look for your end users. But if I go to devices, I just go here, add device. I'm going to choose Senet. And I'll give this I'll say Senet test. And I'll select a retention period. I'll say weekly, 5 weeks. It's really up to you what you want to do. And then I'll give it a device EUI, and then I will create my device. So keep in mind, your device is already on the Senet network. Now you're just doing the authorization so you receive the data, that one-time handshake I spoke about. Generate authorization. You come right here, and you have two options here. You could generate the authorization or just copy the authorization here, or you could generate it. One thing I'd like to note here is some people might say, why do you have two integrations, with Senet on here? Well, it's just for the ease of really controlling on what you're doing. So if I have only my devices that I'm using for Walmart integrated here, and only my devices I'm using for Company X here, if for some reason I need to remove one of these integrations, I'm not going to remove all my devices, right? It would just those few devices. But there I've generated the code, the authorization code, or again, you could generate from here. No need for me to do that, but it's literally a couple clicks. Then I would go to the Senet portal, and then I would register that one-time authorization code, and then I'm good to go. All my devices are now talking to Tago. So let's switch a little bit gears. Let's switch gears a little bit. Again, this is the developer platform. This is my Tago run, Tago.run. In here, I have my admin to where I can create an organization. Again, this is only one flavor, so don't be stuck on what you're seeing here. It's really customizable. It's just how do you want it to look and interact with your end users. Again, that's the benefit of Tago, one of the major benefits. But now we're already integrated with Senet. So now all we need to do in this particular demo is I can come here, create an organization, very easy to do. But here I already have one, right? So I'm going to go to this company one. And within company one, I have a site. And then again, we're kind of focusing on asset tracking. And this is just a customization of Kickstarter, as I said. So this is the RTLS/asset tracking, right? I've created a site. So what I'm saying is under an organization, you might have 3 or 4 organizations, and underneath those organizations, you have 2 or 3 sites or whatever that number is. Everything's segregated in that way by permission and so on and so forth. But I've already connected my device. Now let's just get it working on Tago. What I like to do here is imagine that I am an end user in the field, right? And I am your customer. Well, now I just need to add or replace a sensor. It's literally this easy. I just come in here. I've already predefined what my sensor is. I select my sensor. I select my Senet network. I give it a device EUI. what site is this associated with? And I forgot, give it a name, and then you create it. It's that simple. So your end users don't need to come to you, meaning the Tago developer that you are, don't need to come to you to add their sensor, because you've already done the work on the back end when you downloaded Kickstarter and added the customizations. It's very, very simple to do. You would create your device, and in this case, I'm going to attach it to a pallet, right? Here, I would just give the serial number. I would give it a name. You could select an image, which I'll show you, and then the asset device. What is this? It's pallet 3 or whatever it is. It could be anything. You would create that. And then from there, so you have, now you're receiving data into TagoIO. You already have been, but now you're getting it from the end user application side of it. If I go to the site here, and again, this is just one example. All this is very configurable in any way you want it to look and feel. This is just what I chose to do. Here I have my home base with the geofence around it, and then I have my asset. You notice here I have some variables here, luminosity, air temperature, and location. You can have more here, less here. You can have a picture here of whatever that asset is. In my case, I said it's a pallet that's being put on a truck, right? But this can be an employee ID, picture, anything that you want it to be, right? So now I know where it's at, and I'll be able to see this move in real time and track where it's going. And again, there's historical data, reporting, line charts that you can add here. There's all kinds of different things you can do. This is just the simplest form of it. Now, we've already talked about site a little bit. And again, you can edit the geofences. You can add a geofence. Very simple to do. Again, all configure. I know I keep saying customization, but that's what it is. It's just how you want it to look and feel. So then from here, I can invite users, right? Very simple to do. And again, it's permission based. Maybe I don't want my end user to be able to add sensors, right? Or swap out sensors or create organizations or sites. Maybe they're just read only. They could just view, right? And not read, write, be able to edit permissions. It just depends on how you want to set this up for each user. So I can just come in here, create a user, name, email address. And again, this is all optional. It's just how I did it. User type is an end user or administrator. You could even have something in between, right? Or maybe an end user only can do visual, and maybe somebody in between at a manager level can only add sensors, but they can't add sites, right? And then you have the administrator, obviously super user can do it all. So you can create it that way. And then for alerts are very powerful, as you know. So here I have just entering and leaving a site, and I'm tracking certain assets of that. But we have many different alert options. You can get alerts through analysis, through MQTT. There's a lot of different things you can do. But in this case, I just have my alert condition. Is it geofence, battery level? Could be temperature, humidity, movement, G-force, whatever you want it to be. And then I would just select my equipment. Is it one piece of equipment? Is it all? And then I would select the users that would get this alert, right? You can also optimize alerts. There's a video on that, but if you need more information, just contact me. I'd be glad to help. And then you can create whatever that message is. The temperature in refrigerator 1 on the second floor in the first kitchen is over temperature. And again, you can get alerts, as I said, in all 3 of those areas. And then reports. I have a very simplified one here. People get very creative with reports, by the way. You can have a really cool PDF with your logo on it, a picture in the background, make it look really cool. And then you could just have a simple CVS report. It just really depends on how you want to do it, right? But I'd have my email list. In this particular one, I'm just generating the last 10 readings of all of my equipment that I'm tracking, right? And then you could just send the report. You could also, you can send this on demand, obviously, but you could also send this per schedule. Like maybe you want a report going out the end of each day of all alerts that happened, in your restaurant or in your warehouse, whatever that may be. We have a little bit of time here, so I still have some other stuff to go over, but really what I'm trying to stress here is there is lots of different things you can do with Senet and with Tago, right? In our partnership that we've built together. It's extremely valuable, and we've been very successful in those areas. If I go back to the slide real quick. So let's talk about what y'all been waiting for, why you should have came here, right? This is literally an exclusive combined offer, right? I'm not just throwing that word out. It's very exclusive, right? We've came together and we've came up with a promotion for everyone that's attended this webinar, right? You get $300 of TagoIO credits to kickstart your application development, right? There's lots of different things that you can do there. You get 3 months free of Senet and LoRaWAN network services. And how do you participate? Well, you're already won. You already completed the first part of it, right? You're here. So welcome. Thank you. So you would provide an email request within 7 days, right? And with that, we would want that by January 31st of 2024. I'm going to put this in chat, but basically you're going to submit your interest to me, David Hall at TagoIO, with the code that I'm going to put in chat here in just a moment. There are a couple of prerequisites, right? You must be a new TagoIO customer. Must activate LoRaWAN devices with Senet, and those credits expire after 3 months. I'll let Naolani talk about that in just a minute while I go post something in chat. But activate up to 10 devices, and devices must be activated on the Senet network within 30 days of the webinar. One thing for you guys here that already have a free account with Tago, if you have never had a paid account, you are eligible. So don't consider that your free account, oh, I'm not a new customer. You are a new customer, because what you would do is you would go to a paid plan starter. By the way, it's just $49 a month, very cheap. You could also go with the scale plan. But with that exclusive offer, when you email me, I will get you in contact and I'll help you make the next steps with Senet and with Tago. So with that, I'm going to go over to chat real quick. I'm going to post a few things there, and then I will be right back.
Yeah, I'll just fill some of the white space here. I certainly think that I haven't seen any combined offers like these in the past, but we've really wanted to grease the skids to enable clients that might have been thinking about bringing LoRaWAN devices on, have seen the value in the simple feature, easy onboarding capabilities from the TagoIO platform. So hopefully this will be interesting. I think I'd certainly love to hear some feedback from the client base today on what are the things we can do to help you get into the market.
Thank you, Naolani. Appreciate that. So if everybody looks in chat, you're going to see I have the promo code there. I can honestly say just email me and I will handle it from there. We'll get you in contact with the Senet folks. And since we work so well together, it's going to be pretty seamless. So I am very excited about this promotion. As Naolani said, I don't see this in the industry, honestly. So take advantage of it while you can. Now, how to get started. You can just go to the Tago website, create a starter account. If you need information on Senet, you could just go to their site. But how I would start if I was you, as I said, just email me. I will get you in contact with everybody you need to get going on Senet. Once you have an account, I showed you a Kickstarter, but with a customization, right? But basically, you download, install Kickstarter for free, templates, the Learning Center that I mentioned. There's lots of things that you can do. And then you customize and deploy your own RTLS solution, right? We have lots of tutorials on our website as well that will help you in those areas. So with that, I think we're about ready to wrap it up. Let me just check. I don't see any outstanding questions. You guys, you have my email address. Again, david.hall@tago.io. I'm going to give everybody a quick minute just to take notes of the post that I did in chat so you can get that promo code. If you happen to miss the promo code, go ahead and email me anyway, and we'll work it out and see what we can do there. But other than that, and Thank you, everybody, for joining. Noelani, a special thanks to you. We've done many of these, and they're always great, and I'm very excited about this. So thank you to you once again. Thank you, everybody.